Hi again, everybody. Disha Kameldeep, Senior Data Analyst at Allianz, is our guest this week. Listen in as Disha reveals how to use customer journey data as a rich source of insight, how customer expectations are evolving to more personalised experiences, and how Allianz are integrating AI into their insight work. Please enjoy listening. Hi everybody, and welcome to All About the Insight. Our guest today is Disha Kameldeep, Senior Data Analyst at Allianz. Hi Disha.
Hi, Alex. Thank you for having me here.
No problem at all, lovely to have you here. Disha, as you know, this podcast is all about how and why insights matter, but let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about your journey in terms of how you got where you are today.
So, where I am today is a senior customer insight analyst at Allianz, and it's been quite a journey across different sectors, different industries. I've worked in product, digital customer experience, and it's been a few years working towards this, but I would say each step of the way has contributed to where I am today.
Tell us about those steps. They sound intriguing.
First step, they are indeed. The first step was definitely genuine curiosity. The question I used to ask myself is why consumers behave the way they do. Why is it that we purchase things we do, and what are the emotions that trigger us to want certain products and certain services? And that's something that's applicable across industries. So I found that common across different roles that I've done, that insight is very important to make effective business decisions, but they're also very, very important to provide actual value to our customers. So it's been a combination of work experience, internships, and a lot of YouTube videos, if I'm honest.
Any particular YouTube videos that you can recall that were of particular interest or help?
Oh, there's so many now. Big Data Energy, Alex the Analyst. So there's quite a few people that I've been following on YouTube or Insta. I think it's about making your environment conducive to learning those skills, and that's really helped me to where I am today.
Brilliant. Okay, so think about where you are today and understanding, kind of what you do. Tell us a little bit around the kind of current insight scenario and setup at Allianz where you are today.
So Allianz is very customer centric, but also very data driven. Our core is to provide value to our customers, and data plays a very big part in it. As for my team, I belong in the business intelligence team. So our sole responsibility is to use data to project customer values and customer emotions and provide that data insight to other stakeholders across the business. So that would mean that we work with the claims team, the different product teams, different hierarchies, different seniorities, and they all are looking to work towards that one objective. How do we provide value to our customers? So my role in particular is to analyze the customer data that we get through surveys and look for why things are happening, why customers are giving us that particular feedback, and identifying any gaps for improvement.
And when I'm interested just in the way you use the word value there. It's going to sound a daft question, but what is value for a customer? Certainly from an
I,
insurance perspective.
I think that's a good question because insurance is one of those dry industries, people say, where it's the kind of product you don't necessarily want to buy or need in particular, but it's a necessity. So providing value to customers there is owning up to what we've promised them. An insurance policy that is comprehensive to their needs, that is tailored to their needs. The journey of once you've purchased it and you need certain services with that policy, how do you go about it? If it's as something as simple as, say, changing details about your car insurance, how smooth is the process? The value comes from making it as easy and frictionless as possible and being very mindful of our customers' emotions throughout.
And how do you understand, how do you get under the skin of whether something is problematic, is not smooth. How do you unpick that customer journey and experience? What types of things do you do?
I would say a lot of it is based on knowledge and experience. It takes time to get the context behind the data. So we would start with surveying our customers, and we would survey them at different points of their customer journey. So that could be the beginning where it's the purchase point, or it could be the services point, or at the end where they are making a claim on their policy. So we survey them on different points of their journey. And we don't just collect key customer metrics, but we're also collecting verbatim. So we're analyzing their words in depth to make sure that we can pick out what are certain problem areas.
Okay, so tell me a bit more about analysing the verbatims. How does that process work? You know, as a qualitative researcher at heart, I'm always interested in understanding that a bit more.
Well, it's interesting because that's the first point of contact that we have with the customer in terms of analysis. So we would be going through different areas and looking at what the customer said about their journey. So if in the survey they've said that they had a smooth process or an easy process, we can drill down into why they said it was easy. It could be because the call handlers were helpful, or the terms and conditions of the policy were easy to understand, so on and so forth. So we pinpoint certain areas that were easy for the customers, and we go down deeper into say what they said. So we give them an option in the survey to type in their comments. So that's open text. So we get real value from simply reading through those comments related to a particular issue. So we could do this for both positive and negative opinions. So the positive ones are, well, happy to read. The negative ones are constructive to read.
That's a very nice way of putting it. Is it good old-fashioned brain power? Do you use any tools to help analyse all those verbatims?
We mostly use, we use Databricks, we use Power BI. All of this is just to collect the data, collate it, analyze it using visualization tools. But we've also recently incorporated using AI in our analysis. And while AI is definitely not at a stage where you would depend on it completely, it's not 100% reliable. It just makes our role so much more important. It could give you an overview on what the comments are like, because we get thousands of comments a month, and that's just in a month. So to be able to find value in it, AI is a good assistant. It's not the be all and end all, but like you asked, are there any tools we use? I would say that's one of them.
Yeah, and that's something that I hear. You know, it seems to be the kind of common way of using AI at the minute. Whether it'll be different tomorrow, next week, who knows? But let's see. I want to just take a step back slightly, and your words were insurance is quite a dry industry, and nobody really wants to buy insurance. Do you have any involvement, insight into that acquisition of customers and how they make the choice between Allianz, AXA, Aviva, whoever it is?
I think it comes down to word of mouth. It comes down to brand recognition, and it comes down to long-term value that Allianz provides. While the product itself is more or less the same, it's insurance. I particularly work in personalized insurance. I would know more about that. But it's that once you've taken the insurance for a year, how do you feel about the services you've received? If you've had to call in for a particular query, for a particular request, how was it handled? How smooth was the live chat experience? How friendly were the call handlers when you called in? It's all these little things, all these little human touch behaviors that make one product or company better than the other.
Yeah. So in terms of, just for my own understanding, in terms of the way, the points at which you're surveying people, you're literally going down to that granular detail of sign up, use the chatbot, called in on the old-fashioned landline, sent in an email request. It's all those different touch points.
Yes, that's correct. It's across those touch points. That's what gives us a very comprehensive blanket view. We don't want to miss out on any feedback from any medium, which is why it's equally important to read the survey text as opposed to what performance metrics we've gotten from the call center. And all of this ties in because while they're different mediums, while they cater to different cohorts, they're all equally valuable customers to us.
Yeah. Of course, it's you don't want to end up excluding a subpopulation of people, do you? So you've managed to generate a whole load of data points, insights, verbatims. What's the process? How do you kind of squeeze those to actually start to get value, to use your phrase, from them? What is it that we do and explore to really get the most from all that lovely insight that we're getting?
I think it's listening. It's taking the time to really listen to the customer. And the reason we need to do that is because we are sitting on the business side. We don't always understand what the customer is going through, which is why it's so important that we read every line, that we give enough context, enough pretext to any analysis we present. In terms of putting it all together, in terms of making it concise, that's what PowerPoint presentations are for. That's where the magic happens. That's where you're actually delivering the insight.
Yeah.
So the entire process is going through the data. You could either be answering a particular question or you could simply be doing an exploratory analysis. And you go ahead and you present that analysis to your stakeholders. That could be someone from a product area or from a services area who all have different questions, who all have different needs. So while you're listening to the customer to get insight, you should also listen to your stakeholder on what you're really asking for.
And in terms of listening to stakeholders and those requests that you get, I hear what you're saying in terms of a kind of overall idea of listening to the customer. But are there any particular common or frequent challenges or questions that you get asked about customers?
I think common challenges would be the difference between what is realistic and what is idealistic.
Okay.
So that would mean something like customers aren't very happy with increased renewal prices. Now, that is something that is common across the industry. That's not something that's particular to a single company. That's just how the industry is. We've had quite a few things happening. It impacts the renewal prices. Now, these are common challenges that we see in our customer feedback. The solution cannot always be monetary. It has to be something that's beyond monetary. That's something tangible, like providing a better experience or providing better customer service. And that makes all the difference in the long term.
Okay. Yeah. So it's yes, the bottom line is kind of always important, but it doesn't necessarily need to be just a 50 quid off your policy or whatever it is. People are happy to pay for better service. Yeah. What does it look and feel like in the business in Allianz when insights are working well, when everything's going swimmingly and there's that feedback chain? How do you know that what you're doing is having an impact on the business?
I think the best way to know that something's working is when it happens again. So what I mean by that is you can go buy a product at a market. This is not related to insurance. In general, you buy, say, a pair of shoes. You really like them. After 5 years, you're like, you know what? I want another pair of shoes. Let's go back and get it again. The reason is that it provided value to you. You go back to a certain thing over and over again because it made a difference to you. This is applicable inside the organization as well. The way we know that insights are working is because we have stakeholders coming back to us and asking us different questions or different insights. And that's
Yeah.
because they've seen the impact of those insights that have helped guide their decision making.
Fine. So it's almost like the kind of repeat business that an agency might get from a client. They're seeing that value. Again, you've used the word value there, and given a kind of few, top of mind examples of what value is for a customer. How, if at all, and in what ways do you define what value to a customer could be? Does value always stay the same? Is it just the customer service? Are there new types and forms of customer value emerging that you're seeing?
I think value is very wide ranging, like you mentioned. Now, while from a data perspective, we would look at a few scores, those would be an evidence of providing value. The key metric would be the NPS score, which is the Net Promoter Score. That's essentially asking customers, how likely are you to recommend us to your friends and family on a scale of 1 to 10? Now, we track this metric over time and we have targets that we work towards. That's one way that we make sure that we are continuing to provide value, that we're continuing to satisfy our customers. And this is not the only metric. We try to corroborate it with E-scores, with OCR scores, which are one called resolutions. We want to make the customer's experience as smooth as possible. So that would mean OCR in particular is the first time you called, were you able to resolve your query?
Yeah.
And these three are key metrics that we tend to monitor consistently, making sure that if there's a dip, we see as to why that is,
Yeah.
and we don't leave any gaps.
And you mentioned earlier the idea of value is that smooth customer service. Is that are you seeing any evidence of customers, consumers changing in terms of what their expectations of value, their demands of value, their demands and expectations of customer service? Is that changing, evolving at all?
I think in terms of evolution, the customers who've been for a long time want to be given advantages or be recognized for their loyalty to us. And that is something that we've been working on recently. In fact, one of the outcomes of the insights that we've had is the Allianz Advantages program. Now,
Okay.
that's a loyalty program that was launched for our car and home customers recently. And what that loyalty program is about is simply giving discounts and benefits and rugby tickets to our loyal customers. So everybody is happy, we get continued business, and customers are recognized with not just monetary benefits, but also the chance to experience something new, not with just themselves, but also their family.
Yeah. The experiential value and incentive, for want of a better word, is definitely something that we're seeing in other industries as well as being really important. Are there any particular occasions, instances, examples of when you've seen insights really work, and the application of insights really work for the business? That might be, kind of a new product service launch going ahead, or maybe even, kind of insights that confounded or stopped an incorrect, for want of a better phrase, decision going ahead in the business.
So recently, I would say, one was the Allianz Advantages one that was born out of insights. Those were insights we received from other operating entities. Allianz is a global brand, so we have our teams across the world, and they all give very valuable insight. The customer bases might be a little different, but the knowledge is common. So it was born out of this discussion of how do we provide value to customers? Loyalty programs, what do they look like? And all those insights were derived from within the organization, but by different parts of it. Another example, perhaps in terms of a product launch, like you said, would be an online only product. Your
Okay.
question on what is it that customers want more of is something evolving. I would say it's the ease of doing things online.
Yes. Yeah.
While you want someone, a human being, to help facilitate the process, most of the times you just need to go online, do your thing, not have to chat to anyone about it. Because no one likes to be speaking to someone if it's not needed. If it's just a quick, simple process, that makes things easier. So Allianz Home would be a web-only platform, which would mean that you don't need to call up to purchase the
Okay.
product. You could just go online and purchase your policy. But if
Yeah.
you need someone, you can always reach out to us.
Yeah, definitely. We've done our own proprietary surveys and seen similar to that, whilst we do want to do things quickly, having that option of being able to speak to a human is really important. I think it's a fine line as well, though, isn't it, in terms of moving towards that mode and making sure that it isn't just for the sake of efficiencies. I think you really need to back up the idea of still being able to contact a human and have that chat, don't you?
I agree. I think in terms of efficiency, it cannot override emotions. Efficiency is helpful, effectiveness is helpful, but none of it matters if it's not making your customers happy. You can cut down a lot of costs, but there's no point if your employees are not happy.
Yeah.
So while you're making progress, when you're analyzing things, when you're producing insights, it's very important to anchor those insights to the person they will affect the most.
Yeah, yeah. It's never forgetting that human. Well, I was going to say root cause. That's probably not the right phrase, but everything starts with the consumer, doesn't it? I suppose, and their context, their environment, their world. I've heard lots of good things about insights, but I'm long enough in the tooth to know that not everything is always great with insights, and there are challenges, whether that's in terms of selling insight within a business or actually doing the insights. From your perspective, do you see any particular challenges, or can you recall any challenges around insights that you've had to deal with over your career, and how have you kind of effectively dealt with them? That would be a really interesting story.
I think the biggest challenge with insights is communication.
Okay.
It's the inherent value from insights comes from difference in perspectives, difference in experience and knowledge. That's what makes insights valuable. But that also causes friction because when you are producing and presenting insights, you're doing it with the knowledge on your end. What you want is to be able to translate that knowledge to be used by someone else. The way to conquer that challenge of communication is to be patient, is again to listen. You can't answer questions until you know what the question really is. I would suggest when you get a business problem related to insights, you break it down into parts. You do your checks on the area of the stakeholder asking for those insights. What would matter most to them? And then go from there.
So a kind of due diligence in a way, in terms of really understanding those core objectives and what is it that they want and need, and how they will apply it. And you spoke and you touched on there earlier. You mentioned it as well. Kind of PowerPoints and debriefs and presentations and the like. How do you typically, disseminate, embed insights with your colleagues at Allianz?
I think visual representation plays a big part. Data is known to be numbers and they're not easily conceivable. But data is not that bad when you make it pretty. So In terms of embedding insights, we make sure to make it as visually appealing as possible. We focus
Okay.
a lot on storytelling.
Hmm.
Now, what that could look like is presentation packs that have less text and more visuals, but they could also be case studies.
Okay.
What case studies are like is we pick a particular policy and a customer and we map the entire customer experience journey. What that helps us to do is pinpoint any areas for improvement, what went well, what didn't go well,
Mm.
and weave it into a story where you're really putting the customer first. Now,
Mm.
when you embed insights like this, it makes it real. It's not just data and numbers, it's one individual story that you're using to provide information and insight, hoping that it will make similar cases dealt better in the future.
Yeah, so it's not that it's a, and tell me if I'm misunderstanding this, but you're not representing uh, actually the very physical me, Alex, as an individual, not my journey. It's an illustrative journey based on the insights that you're presenting.
Well, it could be both.
Okay.
So we actually do both. Our usual would be, a cohort analysis
Mm.
or just a general analysis as to how our customers are feeling. But every now and then we would pick one particular case study
Okay.
and speak about it just to see what could have been done differently for this particular case to make the experience better. Now, this is not something we do a lot because it requires a lot of analysis, a lot of insight, a lot of context.
Mm.
But
Mm.
those are the kind of instances that really bring a human being to the business insight side.
Yeah, those human stories are so important, aren't they? You know, as insights professionals, we can tell a story, as you say, but actually getting either through videos or case studies like that real voice of the real consumer singing out loud is so powerful. Just on data visualization, you mentioned that making data look pretty. Any tips or resources that you would share in terms of data visualization?
In terms of resources, I would say go on to Tableau, go on to Power
Mm.
BI, the free version, and just explore.
Mm.
Pick a topic of interest that you like and just get on with it. That's how I did it. You pick something like sports or you pick something like skincare and you go on to Google Trends, look at what's happening with the market, and you get the data that you want through so many sources. You have Kaggle, for example.
Mhm.
You use all that data to explore visualizations in Power BI or in Tableau. And that's just the beginning. Once you get the hang of it, it gets a lot easier. But for someone starting out, I would say you don't necessarily need to invest money, but you definitely need to invest time. And it goes a long way.
Yeah, and kind of have fun and experiments and kind of see where it takes you.
Yes.
We have spoken a lot about your experience, your career, all fascinating stuff, really interesting tips and advice. Obviously, we are moving forward. Research is in a kind of at the cusp, maybe, of an evolution or revolution, whichever way you want to look at it. What do you see as the future for insights over the kind of short, medium, and long term? What are the challenges? How might it evolve? Where is insight going?
I think insight, and we all know what's going to come ahead, it's AI that's going to
Mm.
change insights for the better. Now, insights are deeply data driven now, but what artificial intelligence will help do is make things more efficient. What's important to remember, however, that artificial intelligence is indeed artificial. You still need the human touch. The roles of insight will not go anywhere. People are afraid of their roles being taken over by
Mm.
AI and by machines in general. But I feel no one's going to take your job. People are not losing your job because you because AI has taken over your job. But the individuals who do not learn to use AI as a tool, who don't educate themselves about the use of AI, might miss out on the advantages and the job opportunities that come with them.
You go, carry on.
Yeah. The challenges, though, is the hesitation. It's the trust factor. A lot of what I see with insights being evidenced by artificial intelligence or more data is breaking that link between the actual humans and the insights you produce. So to conquer such a challenge, I think it's necessary to keep in mind that we get in touch with the customers or we get in touch with the person the insights are based on regularly in human form. Be there in person to take in what the environment is providing you. And it's not just through documents that you get more insight. It is through forums, it's through attending conferences. Inside industry will continue to grow, but the real power of it comes from more educated, more knowledgeable, more experienced professionals.
Fine. So really never kind of forgetting that human element that is at the centre of everything. Disha, this has all been really insightful, which is great. But I do have one last question, and that is whether you would have, you work in a multinational business, you've worked across different businesses, looking back on your career and thinking about what you know and where insight might be going. Would you have one tip? Is there one thing you would say for making insight matter more for a business?
Yes, insights will matter more when you ask yourself these three questions. What? So what next? What that essentially means is when you've produced an insight, to make it matter more, you ask yourself, what is this insight about? What is this information that I'll be sharing? And the next part, which is so what? Why is this insight important? Why is this information important? Who is this affecting? Is it actually valuable information or just a bunch of data? And then the last question, and I would say the most important, what next? Your insights will not matter unless they're actionable. So make sure whatever insights that you come up with are actually serving a purpose and acting as a guide to decision making.
Listen, I couldn't agree more. You put it very eloquently there. At Spark, we have something called What Cubed, which is very much along those lines. Understanding what is the data saying, so what does it mean for our business, our client, and now what? What are the next things, the next steps, the plans that need to be put in place to actually action and make that insight matter more. Disha, that has all been fantastic. Thank you so much for that. All it remains for me to say is have a great day.
You too, Alex. Thank you.
Thanks very much. See you soon.